also instinctual for people to be partisan, and it's tribal. It's a tribal thing. And in this day and age, people are rabidly partisan. And the rejection of nuance is so disturbing to me. And it's so disturbing that a lot of this happens from the left now, whereas the left used to be all about freedom of speech. The ACLU is, I mean, it's just, you automatically think of the liberal people when you think of the ACLU. But
the ACLU,
today,
just for the record, is a nonpartisan organization.
Yes. But supported overwhelmingly
certainly
by left-wing people. I mean, obviously they are nonpartisan, but people are so partisan today that this rejection of nuance, it's so easy for people to look at things as left versus right and ignore all of the sins of their team and concentrate on defeating the other side. And it seems to be a giant part of the problem today, so much so that people are in favor, a lot of people are in favor of deplatforming people that just simply disagree with them. And I want to talk to you about that because that seems to be a gigantic issue. Not seems to be. It is a gigantic issue with social media, whether it's with Twitter or YouTube or many things. In fact, Unity 2020 is something that my friend Brett Weinstein is putting together, this idea that we should look across both parties for people that are reasonable and rational people and look at what we agree with rather than simply sitting on partisan policy on party lines and only voting, blue across the board or red across the board. And let's look at reasonable people from both sides, whether it's Dan Crenshaw and Tulsi Gabbard or whoever it is that they represent different parties, but they're both reasonable people. Let's get them together and have these communications. They were banned from Twitter. They were simply banned from Twitter for simply saying, reject both Trump and Biden, look for a third choice. So this is not. There's nothing offensive about what they did. In fact, they're encouraging choice. They're encouraging this idea that we don't have to be a two-party system. That in fact, even though we have had libertarian and green parties, we kind of look at it like bullshit. It's like a protest vote. If you vote Green Party, you're not going to elect that person for president. I mean, it's kind of like we tolerate it. But when someone like Ross Perot came around, it threw a monkey wrench into the gears and became very dangerous for both sides because the Republicans lost a lot of votes, and that's how Bill Clinton got into office, and George H.W. Bush did not get a second term. Directly because of the influence of Ross Perot. So they changed the requirements for getting into the debates, and everything became very different and very more complicated after that. The fact that that Twitter would be willing to ban Unity 2020, specifically because they're calling for people to walk away from this idea that you have to either vote for Trump or Biden and trying to get mainstream acceptance of a potential third-party candidate is extremely disturbing. But deplatforming in general, I think, is extremely disturbing because it's a slippery slope. If you decide that someone has views that are opposite of yours and they bother you, those views bother you, and you could do whatever you can to get them off of a platform, it's very dangerous because someone from the right who gains power or someone from an opposing party that gains power, if they get into a position of power in social media, if they own a gigantic social media company like Twitter or YouTube, and they decide in turn to go after people that agree with your ideology, well, then we have a freedom of speech issue, and you're literally supporting the suppression of freedom of speech if you're supporting deplatforming people on social media. And I've always thought that the answer to someone saying something you disagree with or someone saying something you vehemently oppose is a better argument. That's what it's supposed to be. Yeah. It's supposed to be you should expose the problems in what they're doing. And I'm seeing so many people, particularly on the left, that are happy when people get deplatformed. And people that just are contrary to their perspective, contrary to their ideology. And it's I think it's very dangerous, and it's too easy. It's too easy to accept. And this goes back to what you're saying. This partisan viewpoint that we have today, fiercely, rabidly partisan, in a way that I've never seen in my life.